I actually encountered 2 poniards, but my Go Plus missed the first one. I feel that pain. I feel that pain personally.
Awful.
I grounded it for 5 minutes before telling it to get back to work.
You're tuned into the GOCast podcast, your one-stop shop for updates, news, tips, and community in the world of Pokemon Go. Thank you for listening.
Get ready for the Odd Research Day, featuring Oddish.
No need for a crystal ball. We have all the details for this year's Psychic Spectacular, and more on this episode of GOCast. Hello and welcome to the GOCast podcast, episode 252. It's September 13th. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon. But I'm your host, Chris, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle.
Hiya.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm here.
He is present. Nobody can deny that. I can see him. Everybody can hear him, hopefully, at the very least. Yeah, we're here. We're going to talk about some Pokemon. This is markedly less exciting of an episode than last week. We had all 4 of us on. We had a season, a month, 2 events, a GBL update. Oh my gosh. I hope everybody enjoyed that monster of an episode. My editing muscles were quite tired after that. I don't know if I told you, Kyle, but it like running time was like 2 hours and 43 minutes.
That doesn't surprise me, though. Nope.
No, it definitely felt like that when we were recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, before we get started here, for real, shout out to 4 brand new patrons of ours. Shout out to Malcolm, Brendan, Hannah, and Matt. Thank you to all 4 of you very much for helping support the show. More about Patreon and patronage at the end of the episode so we don't bog you down right here. All right, so speaking of bogging down, let's bog ourselves down a little bit, Mr. Kyle. Let's look at the goals we set for ourselves for this week. Mm-hmm. Notably, the things that we were looking at included, the Paldean event and its Ultra Unlock, some new Dex entries, stuff like that. So let's start with you, Kyle. You vaguely said gifting. I don't know what that means. Can you clarify? Did you do it?
I did do it. I was just making more of an active attempt at opening gifts every day and sending gifts when I had them, but that was not a priority.
That's almost a bridge too far. You're like, people should be happy.
Just let the record be shown that I just open my gifts down the list based on someone I'm not best friends with. So if your in-game username starts with like a T or an S or a W,
or Lord forbid a Z.
Or a Z, I'm never getting down there. And no, that's not true, because I specifically go to Zoe's and open that because we're not best friends. So
fair enough. You guys aren't best friends yet?
I don't open gifts, and she also doesn't know my gifts that much. So,
Well, after a while, you just stop checking because, why bother? Geez, hey, you gotta get a lucky trade with Zoe going, because my last one, a 100% track record for 100% Pokemon, the 1 out of 1 time. So you got to do it. It doesn't have to be a clef key. It can be something else.
Also worth mentioning now, I guess, I don't know if you've looked recently, but Zoe's walking a shiny Tyrant.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, if you haven't seen her like conclusive video to that arc, you should go see it.
I did not watch the finale of it.
You should. The ending is very good. It features another content creator, and it's glorious. Anyway, shout out to Zoe as usual. But hey, besides gifting, which good job, all new Dex entries sans Frigibacks.
No.
Which ones are you missing? Some of the starters just didn't have enough candy or something?
No.
Did you not see a Lechonk all week?
I'm missing Pawmot.
What?
You got to walk at 25 kilometers.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That's true. Fair enough. I didn't do that one either. So
yeah, I didn't know until I was evolving it. I saw it like, you got me, Niantic. You got me.
No, I decided to not lean into it until I saw whether or not I got a Frigibax.
Yeah. Also, I saw one singular Frigibax on my nearby shadow, and it was at an unobtainable Pokestop for the time. It's like a
Oh
Pokestop
my
in the middle
gosh.
of like a forest preserve type area, and I'm like,
No.
I can't get there. Not
You got to
happening.
get out your machete and just go hack through the bush until you get there. Find it huddled between all the tall weeds. You're coming home with me, buddy?
Yeah.
No, I went out looking, man, and I'm getting ahead of myself. 500,000 experience, not Stardust, experience. Did you manage that this week?
Yeah, I killed that.
Nice. Very, very nice.
2 million experience.
2 million experience.
Not only 2 million experience. That was 2 million experience from like 2 hours of playing. I went out to the park. I threw down some lures. I put on a couple lucky eggs, and I just caught. It took me like, I don't know, 15 minutes before I could like start landing excellent throws, and then it's just like so much experience.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
One throw is 9.3k experience. Like, oh my god. And I don't know, I caught like 300 Pokemon, something like that.
Yeah, because you can do about 115 an hour pretty comfy if you have the spawns, which is a big if. But you know where to go to get said spawns. So, hey, good job. That's awesome. So what are you looking at now? I ask you this every week.
I'm at like 11.1 right now.
Left or total in your level?
Total. So that's about 10 million left for this level.
Okay.
21 for this level.
Good for you for capitalizing. Tomorrow's the last day of the Paldean event. So,
yeah.
Oh boy.
This is the best bonus they ever have. Period.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's great. Everybody's just loving it. So 2 out of 3. Nice work. For myself, 1 new shiny. I didn't get 1 new shiny. I got 2 new shinies. I caught 2 shiny Lechonk, and they happen to both be male and female. So, breaking from tradition, Kyle, I'm going to make you gasp. I actually evolved them.
Wow.
Yeah, I have them. They're finished.
They're
great. Yeah. 50 eggs. I did do that. Actually, exactly 50. I thought I got like 44 or something. And then I got my my adventure sync summary, and it said the big old 50. So happy about that. All new Paldean Pokedex entries. I did not get a Frigibax, and so I let myself slide on the 25-kilometer Pawmot, which I completely forgot about until Kyle brought it up again, because I immediately banished it from my mind. So I did really well on everything else. Got, Lechonk, both Oinkolones, got all of the starters, did my Bombardier, caught a bunch of Palmies and stuff, but no Frigibax. And like I was saying during your goals, I went out looking with intent several different times, because I had to leave to go do things like pick stuff up or errands or whatever, drop somebody off somewhere. And every time I made a point of going around places, looking at my nearby, I'm like, how hard could it be? And it just didn't pan out. So that's kind of a bummer. But I'll take that luck in the form of multiple shiny Lechonk. Yes, I will. 50 kilometers. I did about 23. I completely forgot I even set that as a goal. No major walking efforts this week by me, unfortunately. I was very car bound due to the things I was doing this week, but hey.
That reminds me that I'm on the 25 kilometers for 8 weeks mission.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. Only think I did like 13 or 14 last week.
Oh my gosh.
Usually I get 25, not a big deal, but yeah, apparently last week I just didn't move.
Huh. You were planted at work the entire time. Yeah. Paldean research complete. And I think I did modify this in the moment last week, where it was like at least the step that we were currently on with the buddy hearts every day. I did do that. And lo and behold, the next step is spin a Pokestop on 14 separate days. So we're about 3 days into that. I've done as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to give myself that one. So that's a 3 out of 5 for me. And that means you win, Mr. Kyle. Good job.
Oh boy.
You've been killing it with goals lately, man. At least in comparison to my inability to perform. My goodness.
I mean, one of these was ambitious for you, but yeah.
What, the 50 kilometers or the all new Paldean Pokedex entries?
Take your pick.
Or the 1 new shiny. That one actually happened.
Yeah, but there was like at least one to chase there. I also got a shiny. I actually don't know if it was new. Was it new? Hang on, let's find.
Oh, I also got a Buizel and a
I got a shiny
Swablu.
Buizel.
Nice.
I got off the plus. Oh no, I had one from, was this from Johto Tour? No, I caught it from GoFest last year. Okay, well.
Oh, and a Houndour. Just rain and shinies.
I still
over
don't have
here.
a shiny Houndour.
How is that possible,
I
Kyle?
know.
How is that even possible? I know you click on every one you see.
is uncommon for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's out and about this event, which is nice. So hopefully maybe you'll have some time tomorrow or this evening to do a bit of catching. We'll see. All right. So that's it for goals. And we're going to hop into the news then. Let's do it. Yo, what up? It's the news. Okay. Yeah. The DLC came out. Yes, it sure did. We're not going to talk about it over much because it's not like a whole lot of new Pokemon were added, some new legendaries, and everything else is kind of a spoiler because it literally just came out yesterday, technically today. So that's cool. We're not going to talk about it too much. Although I'm sure once Kyle and I both have had a chance to finish it, more or less, air quotes, we'll do a little wrap up coverage bonus episode of it. And also I suppose newsworthy, although this is mostly just most exciting for me and Kyle. Monster Hunter Now is now out.
It is for those who want to play another Niantic AR based game.
It looks promising.
It does. It looks okay. It looks okay. It just makes me want to play more Monster Hunter Rise, but that's
fair enough. And like that, like the DLC, we'll maybe talk about it more once we've had some more time, but that game is now out. Okay, now for real news. We have two pieces of news this week. The first, of course, is the aforementioned and announced Oddish Research Day. We've got details for it, so that's great. Trainers, keep your eyes peeled for rustling leaves. We're excited to announce a new research day featuring Oddish. Collect those field research tasks and see how many Oddish you can encounter. When is this happening? It's this upcoming Sunday, September 17th, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. local time. Pretty classic community day hours. The featured Pokemon will be, I bet you can't guess, it's Oddish. Field research tasks, yeah, real curveball, will be available when you spin photo discs at Pokestops. Complete them to encounter Oddish. So yeah, pretty standard. Really, really quick before we talk about the rest of this, if this is going to be your first research day, the gist is that you go out and you spin stops during this time to get tasks that reward you with encounters for the featured Pokemon, and there's increased shiny rates and stuff like that. We'll get to all that, but that's the crux of the event, pretty much. Event bonuses will be twice Stardust for catching Pokemon, increased chance of finding extra small or extra large Oddish. Wild Oddish may be holding a Sunstone. This is new. I wonder how this is going to manifest in gameplay. Kyle, what do you think?
I mean, it's probably just going to be on like the collection screen or whatever when you get Stardust, or it'll pop up afterwards in the corner. The question is whether you can tell before you get it.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it was like an icon was floating nearby or something. But my biggest concern, actually, and this is going to sound very privileged of a concern, is I hope that this doesn't drop too frequently, because I don't want to walk away from having caught 400 Oddish with 50 Sunstones. You know.
See, so here's the weird part for me. It's a research day. The point is you complete research tasks to get encounters with the Pokemon. But Oddish is also spawning in the wild then? Because that's what this sounds like. That's not a research day then. It's basically a community day.
Well, it doesn't say that it's actually included in wild encounters. When you get a research reward, it still says a wild blank appeared. So
I feel like that's
it's a technicality. You're right. You are right. It doesn't sound right, but it's a technicality for sure.
I feel like wild Oddish sounds like something you encounter in the wild. If it's just from the research, which is what everything else says,
yeah,
they need to work on their wording, because we know that they're usually very specific about it.
Yeah,
and it makes the holding a Sunstone less interesting because it just means it's another reward from the research task, which means the research task gives 2 rewards, which is cool, but nothing crazy.
Oh yeah, that actually makes the most sense. About it would just give you the encounter and an item. That'd be cool.
So you probably will just get the Sunstone straight up, and then if you were to back out of the encounter, it would go in your stack, but you have the Sunstone already.
Yeah. Also, you reminded me by saying that these are going to be from tasks. There's no way I'm catching community day numbers, so probably like maybe 150 Oddish if I'm very.
That's a lot.
That's
efficient. A lot of Oddish. I expect less than 100. That's even with great task density. That's crazy.
I've got a route already. I know where I'm going. It's usually a park. It's a downtown. It's a community college.
Okay, I've done like 75 or 80 usually for these research days. So fair enough.
We'll see. I'll actually track this time. Normally, I don't track how many tasks I've done. I just track the shinies and Stardust or whatever the case might be. Mm-hmm. This time I'll do it because I don't want to misrepresent my gameplay. We'll see. Also, it'll be helpful for comparing Sunstone drop rates and things like that too. But the last bonus, besides Wild Oddish maybe holding a Sunstone, is increased chance of encountering shiny Oddish. Well, I sure hope so. Wild encounters, devoid of Oddish, it seems, include otherwise Paris, Venonat, Bellsprout, Shroomish, Roselia, Cacnea, Fungus, and Bone Sweet. Kind of an interesting little pack here. I believe everything here can be shiny, save the Bone Sweet. Yes, I believe that's right. Mm-hmm. Pokestop showcases during Oddish Research Day. Be on the lookout for showcases at select Pokestops where you can enter Oddish. No surprise there. Quick little quality of life thing that I noticed. Little hot tip for those of you doing showcases. If you are in more than one showcase and you are looking to remove yourself from a showcase, you cannot otherwise remove yourself from a showcase. But if you're in 3 showcases, right? Let's say A, B, and C. Okay. You want to be out of showcase C. Go to showcase B. Replace that Pokemon with the one you have in C. And then switch out that C back for B if you want to keep it. And now you're only in 2. I did this today. I'm like, this makes so much sense. Why didn't I think about this sooner? I was in 3. I swapped one out from another showcase, and now I'm only in 2. And so presumably, I haven't tested this part of it yet. I can go out and throw into another one. I hope they don't limit me and be like, you lost your chance. But we'll see.
You can go and put one in another one. Mm-hmm. Guarantee that's an oversight that they will want to fix.
Probably. So
because
maybe
they don't let you deliberately remove Pokemon from a entry.
Yeah, so I'll have to test it out and see.
That definitely is not intended, but that is a good tip if it works.
If it works. This theory is half tested, so I guess tune in. Tune in the future. But anyway, there you go. That's Oddish Research Day. Any excitement around this at all, Kyle? Is Oddish meta worthy, Mr. Gear Up? Should anybody care about this?
No.
Oh, well, is it a fun Pokemon?
I mean, yeah, I like Oddish.
Yeah,
it's fun. The idea of it holding a Sunstone is cute, although because it's tied to research, it's not actually like groundbreaking or new tech that they can put into the game in other ways. But it's still cool.
They also don't have hands. So
also wild encounters: Paris, Shroomish, and Fungus, all bonus Stardust, including 2x Stardust. So if the spread of Pokemon is reasonable, it's good to just go out and catch for this too.
Yeah, there's also 2x Stardust as a bonus, so it leans into that as well.
Yeah, so as long as those aren't like uncommon spawns here and you're not seeing, 70% Bond Sweet, yeah. Also, Roselia is fun. People like Roselia.
Yeah, people like Roselia.
And its Roserade is noteworthy, so.
Yeah, top 10 poison DPS, right?
And depends on how you categorize grass. It's still very usable. So,
but also, Venonat shiny is wicked cool. So there's that. Okay, well, we hope you all have good luck on your Oddish Research Day. Let's move on to admittedly much more exciting news. The Psychic Spectacular 2023. This is a cool event. This does roll around, every so often. One would say maybe once a year. So yeah, this is going to be the one for 2023. It's a psychic-based event, as you might expect. Trainers, you read our minds. The Psychic Spectacular event is back with new timed research, collection challenges, raids, and more. They're really pushing raids with all the stuff lately, raids and the special research. Man, it's kind of wild.
Oh, that reminds me. We didn't talk about it. I'm going to say it here. Palmy research. I didn't buy it.
No?
Oh,
I did.
I know you did. But you only bought it so you could have the completed line at the end of your research list.
And the backpack.
No, because the backpack you could have bought separately, probably for cheaper once it's in the shop.
I mean, probably, yeah, but I wanted it the week ahead of time.
Okay, but look, statistically, all other backpacks, as far as I could see in the store, are 250 Poke Coins. So cheaper than if you had just bought the backpack, if it is not 500 Poke Coins, which would be insane, but possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the worst research that they've ever had. It's worse than many free research that they've given.
There's a regular incubator in there, and that's at least 3,000 coins worth of value.
Yeah, according to Niantic's calculations, sure.
That's right.
It's really bad. It's already like by the time you're listening to this, it's already over and whatever. Exceptionally bad. I'm upset that it existed. I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I'm a proud owner of a Palmy backpack, and also the proud owner of Zero Shame because of it.
I don't mind them charging for stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's totally fine to me. I just wish it had entertainment value out of it. People get value, we talked about it, for having tasks to complete, having some direction.
Yeah.
The tasks basically boiled down to walk 1 kilometer. That was the most difficult thing that was on the
There was
list.
a walk 3.
Walk 3, I'm sorry. Walk 3
There was a
kilometers.
walk 1 and a walk 3.
Yeah, but it was all in one step. Like,
yes.
It was almost insulting.
It was kind of insulting. I was expecting a bit more, and if not a bit more there, then give us stuff that it really doesn't matter. Not even premium items. I mean, I think 921 Stardust and 9,210 XP.
Yeah.
Like, put another 0 on both of those.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I wish, make it 3 steps, make it something that like gets people to go out and play more. People would like that. Like they actually would.
But on the other hand, because it's timed, it's nice to see everything you have to do all at once instead of being surprised by a third step that's like, all right, for the next 3 days, make sure you tell your buddy he looks handsome. Like,
counterpoint. I don't think anything that you pay money for should be a timed research.
I agree.
So
but if it's going to be, I kind of like to know what I'm getting myself into. It's almost like they should show you what the tasks are before you purchase the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ways of solving it for sure. We didn't talk about it, and I felt compelled once it was mentioned.
Yeah, fair enough. Although I'm not sure when we would have had time to talk about it last week.
No, we would have talked about it at the top of this show. We just forgot.
Oh, well, fair enough. All right, back to Psychic Spectacular 2023. When is it happening? It's happening Wednesday, September 20th at 10 a.m. to Sunday, September 24th at 8 p.m. local time, so about 4 days. Event bonuses: increased experience for successfully catching Pokemon with curveball throws. There you go, Kyle, some more XP. Timed research, Psychic Spectacular timed research focused on curveball throws will be available at no cost throughout the event. Complete the research tasks to earn encounters with Solosis. And Solosis is the new featured shiny debut for this event.
Thank God. I feel like Solosis' shiny should have been out like for 2 years at this point.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like Solosis was filler for so long in several events like last year or the year prior. One of those two. There was Solosis everywhere. But let's look at these wild encounters. There's a bunch of them. Abra, Slowpoke, Drowsy, Execute, Girafarig, Ralts, Meditite, Spoink, Gothita, Solosis, LGM, Galarian Ponyta, Galarian Slowpoke, and Bronzor. Interesting spread of Pokemon. Events like this in particular, there's no like real specific chase. I mean, Metatite for XL candy, Girafarig for shiny hunting are examples, you know what I mean? Galarian Ponyta and Galarian Slowpoke in the wild to chase after now is cool. Otherwise, they're a bit more difficult to come across. But honestly, I think the player that benefits from a pool like this the most is somebody that's still working on their Psychic type badge, or medal, rather. Unless I'm missing a highlight here. What do you think, Kyle?
I mean, Ralts could be good for Mega Gardevoir, Mega Gallade, I suppose.
You also don't see it very often.
But yeah, I definitely think the chase outside of the new shiny, of course, is probably Galarian Ponyta for a lot of people.
Yeah, also LGM's shiny was added, I believe, was it last year's Psychic Spectacular?
Last Psychic Spectacular. I literally just looked it up just to see what we got last year.
Cool. Yeah, it's like almost never around too, so that would be a good thing to shiny check at the very least. It's not very meta relevant. It's not very good at all. But the shiny is worth checking for, certainly. Well, maybe we'll see some interesting things in raids. Let's take a look at those. 1-star raids will feature the Unknown P, Unknown S, Unknown I, and Esper. Esper shiny. Don't forget that. But yeah, PSI for the Unknown and 1-stars. That's cool. We're keeping the 1-star Unknown raids going here, which is good because they're cool. Excellent pass bait. Really good.
Yeah.
And you can solo them. So if you were still working on your Win 60 raids, like all of us are still working on our Win 60 raids, those are good ones to knock out if you are otherwise unable to raid other things.
I'm just not going to get that done. It's just not going to happen.
I'm not even at 30 yet, man. I'm
at like 6.
Well, you got forever to go still, man. I mean, what it's 69 days and 3 hours from now. I'm at 28.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I'm going to finish this 150 field research tasks with Oddish Day. I'll tell you what.
I don't even want to know how many. I probably am only on like 30 research tasks too. I'm at 50.
Oh, hey, nice. And if you haven't been trying to do them, that belies a much more efficient passive gameplay than you might be telling.
Well, I mean, I went out and played at least once this week, the dedicated, and that was probably like 30 research tasks. So
nice. You just clear out the area and then go home. Yeah. 3-star raids. Here we go. Alolan Raichu, Galarian Mr. Mime, and Hisuian Braviary. Those are all shiny, I do believe. Hisuian Braviary is cool because it pops in every once in a while. Galarian Mr. Mime, I think, is the point of interest here, almost certainly.
Is Galarian Mr. Mime shiny?
You know what? Maybe I could just.
That's shiny.
I'm gonna open up this link.
Okay, the infographic does say shiny on it. I don't remember when that was turned on, but yeah,
I don't remember either. But that is shiny. So I'm gonna double down on that. Then I do believe that Galarian Mr. Mime is the point of interest for tier 3 raids. So there you go. Also, to point out, raids were capitalized this time, and they were not capitalized in the other ones. So.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Cool. If in 5-star raids, they're going to have Genesect Burn Drive, which we already knew, and that's going to be until September 23rd at 10 a.m. And then it'll flip over, and we will begin the reign of the legendary beasts. That is to say, again, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune in 5-star raids. May they reign forever. Mega raids, Mega Gardevoir will be in Mega raids. So if you catch a good Ralts while you're out there you go. Those go hand in hand. Eggs, 7-kilometer egg pool is getting a little bit of a shake-up. Smoochum, Wynot, Chingling, and Solosis. So 3 babes and the new shiny. All of them can be shiny. Field research task encounters will feature encounters with Kadabra, Galarian, Slowpoke, Wobbuffet, Batang, Solosis, and Inkay. I think that was a terrible Kadabra impression, but we're going to roll with it. Every single time that these are listed and I see Gen 1 Pokemon Evolve forms listed as not shiny, I'm always like, why can't we just do it? It's a Kadabra. Who's gonna lose anything over somebody
all
catching
the people
one?
rating Alakazam for the shiny?
Yeah, that's true too. Oh my gosh. No, don't talk. That's painful to hear. Other field research task encounters, there's going to be mega energy for the following 4 mega Pokemon: Alakazam, Slowbro, Gardevoir, and Metacham. There's also going to be a collection challenge. Psychic Spectacular collection challenges are coming. Complete the Psychic Spectacular collection challenges to receive mega energy for certain Psychic type Pokemon, Stardust, and experience. Pretty much what you'd expect. Nothing too notable there. And there is going to be showcases during this time, and they're going to feature Spoink. Spoink even in the wild. Oh, Spoink is in the wild encounters. For some reason, I thought maybe it wasn't. That'd be funny.
Why
Spoink. All right,
Why
so
not Solosis?
What about Solosis? Oh,
why not Solosis?
Because Spoink needs its time in the sun.
I feel like it's had several opportunities, several spotlight hours, all that. So
why? That's true. It has been in a bunch of spotlight hours, like at least 3.
Yeah.
I think the better question is why Spoink and why not Grumpig? Cowards.
Yeah, I mean they seem to definitely lean into the first stage, which I don't blame them because I saw a Charizard showcase on Charmander Day. And I was like, I got to evolve one just for this.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna, but
that's a good point.
Like an average player probably would not do that.
No, I don't think they would either. And I think them encouraging people to do it definitely relies on it being as accessible as possible. I think you're right. Cool. So what are your thoughts on this event overall? If you can you compare it to Psychic Spectacular last year at all? I don't remember it whatsoever.
I glanced at an infographic while you were reading just to kind of refresh. I think the weird thing for me is a singular new shiny enough to drive a whole event if there's nothing else there? I think it kind of boils down to that. That's not like a rhetorical question or a sarcastic one. It's a genuine question. For me, it's not. I am interested in Solosis' shiny because it's been in the game forever, and I feel like it should have been turned on already. But I have no interest in anything else that's happening in this event at all. Now, if the bonus experience for curveballs is good, I'll be interested. But I believe we've had this bonus before, and it was not good last time.
Yeah, I think it was fine. It just wasn't like mind blowing.
Well, I think it's only a bonus on the experience that the curveball gives to your total. For a great throw, that's plus 50. So
yeah, for an excellent, isn't it like a ton?
No, for excellent, it's like it's 1,000, I guess, actually for excellent. So that could be good.
Yes.
It all depends on what kind of multiplier is there. That's the big question for me. Raids, whatever, spawns. I'm kind of
Galarian Mr. Mime.
I mean, the Galarian Mr. Mime in raids is neat. I'll probably do a few.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, there are things that if I really wanted to be excited for this event that I could rally around. Despite having so many really good quality espers, I got like 398s and like 1 hundo. I have yet to get the shiny, so I might do some of that. Galarian Mr. Mime for sure, but these things are all raids. And my mentality and personal limitations around them are still in place. They're not being lifted for this, not like they were for GoFest Global Weekend. But yeah, I don't know. Just I'm going to probably hunt for LGM, Galarian Ponyta, Solosis. And it's going to be sort of a passive, shiny check sort of event. And I think that's okay.
I think this is kind of harkening back to like 2018 right now with an event that is so focused on one type versus a theme.
Yeah.
It makes it very difficult to make the event appealing to a wide array of players. The event appeals to a specific set of players, which is, it's okay. That's fine. But that's it. You can't drop in some stuff that kind of spreads the appeal out a little bit. If you don't want psychic types, this does nothing for you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, psychic is such a crowded type, at least in the way that it works in Go, that I don't blame somebody if they're not interested in that regard.
I think the things that would elevate this event though and still be appropriate thematically are just not doable. Like Mega Mewtwo, right? Like that's not
Yeah.
going to be in this event.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
of course.
but they could have given us like Latios and Latias energy, Mega
Yeah.
energy. That would have been cool.
And I know the 5-star raids haven't coincided with events in a long time, but legendary beasts in raids during a Psychic Spectacular is kind of, it's almost comical. Especially because there's literally, I don't know, 16 psychic legendaries in Pokemon that you could pick from.
They did nail the Mega Raid though.
Did they? Last year they released Mega Alakazam.
Yeah, I mean Mega Gardevoir is cool though, and you can get
known for being a fairy. I know it's psychic technically,
it's also
but
psychic.
Yeah. But like it's known for being a fairy.
I'm just saying, at least it's psychic type. We're doing something.
Sure,
we're doing something. Enough. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It seems interesting. To answer your question, we'll talk more about it later, though. Your specific question about can shinies carry events or not. We will get there, just not in this section. So, speaking of moving along to other sections, I think that wraps up the news, and that means that we get to, at long last, it feels like it's been forever. It's time for Gear Up.
So this week on Gear Up, we're going to be talking about the legendary beasts and their place in Pokemon Go. First up is Entei. He's all right. Like, he's fine. I have a Hundo Entei and I use him, but there's probably better options. There are a lot of better options, actually. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of Shadow Fire-type Pokemon are better than Entei, including, of course, Shadow Entei is an option. But even without Shadows as an option, which I tend to omit for sake of discussion because Shadows will generally perform better than non-Shadows given appropriate stats, he's outperformed by several embarrassingly common options. Chandelure is one very obvious one. But also Blastburn Blaziken is way up there on the charts, surprisingly, if you omit Shadows. And it's been featured a lot, so I think it's safe to say regular Darmanitan, also way up there for fire-type attackers. Also, Volcarona, when it eventually becomes more common, will be better than Entei, but I don't think anybody's using one of those right now.
No.
Somebody who dropped 700 rare candy might be, but
it's tempting. Every day I'm tempted. Every day.
Yeah, you hatched a Hundo, right? No, you hatched one that was really good though, wasn't it?
I hatched one that was passable, but
I hatched a Hundo or an Egg Nundo at least.
You did? A 10-10-10 Larvesta? No, I think what you might be conflating that with is that Carlo got a lucky Hundo from Tyler, I think.
Yeah, they traded like right after it came out. Okay.
It was the first night of the meetup at dinner, if I remember. So, good times.
Entei. It is pretty bulky, so it is a viable option. It's good to use. If you have one, you like Entei, good. I wouldn't recommend looking for a full team of 6 and doing a bunch of raids. It's just not worth it. Now, next up, Raikou.
Jury's out, man. I used to say Raikou all the time, and I changed it to Raikou. And I think that's right, but I couldn't point you to a reference.
I don't know. I always say Raikou, but it's probably Raikou. I don't know.
Who knows, man? You do you, Kyle. You do you.
It's better than Entei, but still significantly less than it could be. There's a lot less shadow competition, though, for electric type. So Raikou is still very good. Really just shadow Electivire.
Oh, poor Zapdos, man.
It's better than, Raikou's better than Zapdos there.
Wow.
And of course, Shadow Raikou. But that said, Xurkitree and Zekrom are so far above the competition for electric type that it's hard to recommend somebody invest in something else. And while Raikou's bulk keeps it competitive just like Entei, the gap between it and regular Electivire it's not really that big, all things considered. So if you've got Electivires, it's probably not worth investing in Raikou, and probably save that investment for when Zekrom or Xurkitree come back for sure.
Yeah.
And last, but most certainly least, Suicune.
You're being rude right now.
Look,
It's a good Pokemon.
Is pretty looking, especially shiny Suicune. It's the best of the 3 shinies, no doubt.
Raikou is pretty close.
I mean, it's yes, it definitely goes Suicune, Raikou, Entei, but
yeah,
I think Suicune is the best of the 3. Anyways, it's bad, just straight up. It doesn't have a water fast move, so there's pretty much all there is to say about it. Even in some miracle world where it gets the only water fast move it can learn, which is Water Gun, it's still bad. It's still really bad.
Does it know hidden power?
It does know hidden power.
So it could get hidden power water.
Yeah, but I'm not counting that.
Okay, well, I mean, I think you're right. I was just curious.
But yes, it does learn hidden power.
Oh my gosh.
It's just not good. Maybe there's some world where because it's so defensive, it's better in PvP, but I also don't think that's the case. So I'm not one to instruct on that.
You're good company. I just love that Pokemon because it's beautiful.
Yeah. So legendary beasts, consensus, good for shiny hunting. And 2 out of 3 are usable, but better options.
They're also just like so classic that they've got a lot of clout, so we got to factor that into the equation somehow.
No, the clout works against them for me because it means we have to see them in raids too often.
Yeah, but we haven't seen them in raids that often.
Okay, but when was the last time Zekrom and Reshiram were in raids?
I don't know. I remember I swore off as Zekrom last time. In Indianapolis.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it is about time, I think, to I'm ready to be hurt again, Like oh my gosh. This is always so, heartbreaking. It is kind of cool though that Raikou is decent. Like Raikou's all right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so sad to hear that Suicune is like unsalvageable. There's just nothing there.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's kind of impressive.
It's kind of impressive. There you go. That's the silver lining, Kyle, right there. It's so bad, it's impressive.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, cool. Well, thanks very much for the heads up. But yeah, these are all shiny available. So if you are a newer player, these are cool Pokemon to get. They're very classic, but usability not really there. Not really there. Yeah. But anyway. Okay, that's it for Gear Up, which means that we're going to take a real short break here, and then we're going to come back for Pokelore, where we're going to cover a newer Pokemon. All right, welcome back. It's time for Pokelore, and this week we are going to be covering Nimble and Low Kicks, the grasshopper Pokemon. I think all of us have gotten a little bit more familiar with Nimble than we had intended if you were, doing any research tasks during the Ultra Unlock where they were having you catch 5. Or catch 20.
What? I did not see one of those when I was out.
There's a catch 20 for like 2,500 Stardust. It's very, very good. It's awesome. But it is a lot, and it has trained me the past few days to only see Nimble all over the place. Well, let's learn more about them, shall we? Nimble first. Nimble is a gray oblong insectoid Pokemon resembling a grasshopper with dark gray colorations on its face, back, and legs. Its head has 2 stubby semicircular antennae, a circle on its snout resembling a mouth or nose, and yellow compound eyes shaped like rounded crosses, complete with cross-shaped black pupils. Its body is divided by lines into multiple segments, and it has an X-shaped pattern on its underside. It has 6 legs. 2 pairs of legs are located on the sides of its body, and each of the 4 limbs are dark gray and contain a single claw. The 3rd pair of legs is located above its body and is much larger. They are oblong in shape and solid dark gray in color, with light gray ring patterns over the joints. Nimble always keeps its 3rd set of legs folded up. When threatened, Nimble can jump to a height of over 30 feet or 10 meters. Its jumping capabilities allow it to dodge attacks while dealing damage. Cool. Have you ever had like a grasshopper jump on you outside, like land on you?
I don't think so.
I've had it happen a couple of times. They're like surprisingly sturdy, and so it's really freaky. It's not like a fly landing on you or something. Like there's heft to a grasshopper. My goodness. But what about Low Kicks? Low Kicks is a bipedal insectoid Pokemon which resembles a locust. It is primarily dark gray with glossy black colorations on the head, thorax, lower abdomen, forearms, lower legs, and third set of legs. Its face is covered in a mask-like plate and contains a pair of black triangular antennae with 2 white stripes on top, along with orange triangular eyes and a triangular notch on its chin. Its thorax and abdomen are separated by a white belt. With an X-shaped pattern at the front, it has a pair of white claws on each of its hands and a single claw on each foot. Its forearms have an orange spike each, while its calves have 2 orange spikes protruding towards the back. Behind Lokek's body is its third set of legs, attached to its abdomen. These legs are oblong with a symbol resembling the general prohibition sign on the outside of the joints and connect to thin rectangular forelimbs. Each of the forelimbs have 5 large spikes and a single white claw at the bottom. Lokix usually keeps its third set of legs folded on its back. However, it can unfold these legs to enter what is known as its showdown mode. In showdown mode, Lokix stands and jumps on its now unfolded third set of legs and swings them to attack.
Okay.
Lokix utilizes its showdown mode to fight all out, being capable of quickly subduing its foes in this mode. However, it cannot be in showdown mode for too long, as it places a huge strain on its body. It's like Kaioken, dude.
It's all for one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's one for all. Sorry.
Well, you take your pick. Lokix can live in a variety of different areas in Paldea, such as grasslands, snowy mountains, deserts, and lakes. And just to clear up any confusion, Nimble is a bug monotype. Lokix is a bug dark type. No steel in there.
Nope.
At all, even though it looks like it's made out of metal. Stats. Max CP for Lokix at 40 is 2317, and at 50 it's 2619. Not too high, really. 174 stamina, 144 defense, and 199 attack. And if you are looking for best moveset on this, take Bug Bite or Sucker Punch as your fast move, depending on what stab you're looking for there. And then the 2 charge moves would be X Scissor and Dark Pulse. X Scissor did just get a buff, but not enough to drag the stat product of Lokix up to relevance. So there you go. I'm a big fan of this Pokemon. I think it's got a lot of character for sure. This whole showdown mode thing, I don't remember that being in Scarlet and Violet. So maybe it's an anime thing?
No, they don't talk about it, but if you go look at its Dex entry card, like how everyone has as a book on a shelf or whatever.
Yeah.
The picture is showdown mode.
Oh.
If you go to the wiki and you go see it, I was like, oh, that's what that means. I never would have made that connection, but sure.
Huh. That's cool. I would love for this otherwise weaker Pokemon to suddenly be very good for a risk, that'd be neat. But yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, yeah, Lokix is just not that great.
Not good.
Suffers from the bug type thing, but amongst its fellows at its tier, it does pretty well for itself. So there you go. Take that for as much value as you feel like it deserves. All right. Well, that's it for Pokelore. Mr. Kyle, it's time for Pokepoll.
All right. So our last Pokepoll was, what are the pros and cons of seasons for you as a trainer in Pokemon Go? Our first response from Everdark Raven, they said, I want to and get excited for new seasons, but the biggest con of them for me is that they last 3 months. It's just too long. 3 months of the same 20 Pokemon when there are hundreds in the game. 3 months of Shadow Articuno. 3 months between Rocket takeovers. It's just all too long. Yeah, it's a fair criticism for sure.
Yeah, I think any shorter would feel too short.
I think the 3 months for the Pokemon spawns is not as bad because you have events that shake it up.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 months for the new Shadow Raid is way too long. And while Rocket takeovers, people want them more often, of course. I think the rotating of the bosses Pokemons taking 3 months is real bummer.
Yeah, certainly. I agree. It almost makes it feel like the Rocket stuff like dies for a while and then comes back for like a weekend and then dies again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're really interested when the rotation happens, and then
Yeah, I want that narrative to have a consistent presence, and not in a way that like there's tons of grunts everywhere, but something else, like a long-term thing to work on during the season or something like that.
But like, it's a huge problem because if you go from 3-month seasons to 2-month seasons, you go from 4 a year to 6 a year. It's a 50% increase. That's a lot. It is a specific downside of the seasons as a concept. So I think it's a great answer.
I think it's good cadence for them as a company for their content schedule, but it is a bit long for the player. Yeah.
It's long for the player that wants to play every single day and do something and go. For the players who come and go, who check in, who leave, or who play twice a week, it's probably a great cadence.
No disagreement there. Good deal.
All right. The next response is from Triptando, and they said, I like how seasons reflect IRL seasons, and towards the end of the season always gets trainers excited for the next one, and everyone is waiting for the blog posts to drop. But I still think it's one of the most underused features. Spawns don't feel seasonal to me. Biomes still overrule them. And story-wise, so much more could be done. Season-long quest lines with a new page every week, and we could keep completing the page extra times for extra rewards, so you could keep working on your seasonal research, no matter a casual or hardcore playstyle. And give the map a seasonal color retouch while we're at it, not just at 2 or 3 events a year. Seasons have so much more potential.
They do. And then once those things are made and implemented, they just keep them.
Yeah.
Like the color palette stuff, fall will always be fall colored. It's not going to change,
Yeah. And it works.
Yes.
It works. Look,
it
okay, we're not going to talk about it, but the map of Monster Hunter now shows the potential that Pokemon Go could have. It shows it. If you haven't played it, if you have no interest, go look at some screenshots of the map. I want biomes and nests and stuff to look like that in Go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looks great. We can at least use I know we've talked about this relatively recently with like a listener email and stuff, but we could at least use a few trees, like honestly.
Yeah.
Just like 2.
I think there's a lot of unused potential for seasons as well. I agree with Triptando.
Yep.
I was expecting them to become more meaty as time went on, as they like kind of got their legs and understood what worked and what didn't. And I'm not going to lie, the current season feels like the first season. Like the only difference is we have the shadow rates as part of the rotation.
Yeah, and there's a lot more walk X kilometers stuff going on and a lot of raids happening.
Well, sure, but like that's just like what is featured and what events are happening and stuff like that. But like structurally, it's identical still, and we're 2 years in.
Yeah.
2 years in.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's kind of the point. I think it was supposed to be sort of like a framework that you can just plug stuff into.
I just would like to see it grow. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, of course. I agree. Yeah.
Our last response from Adam Chambers via Spotify. They said, it keeps it fresh. After 3 months, you're usually ready for a change up, and it's good that they align with meteorological seasons. I love relevant Pokemon appearing at the time of the year, i.e. ghosts in autumn. Agreed. I think that is one of the things that they have done well is the timing. And like Triptando said as well, people getting excited for the blog dropping, for like what's changing.
Mm-hmm.
And people like that. That's a positive.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
seasonal bonuses and stuff like that. And back when they were changing the breakthroughs around more, that was cool. Yep.
I don't even remember what I got for my last breakthrough. Let's not talk about that.
I got a regular Gumi.
I think I got a Dino, right? That's in the rotation right now.
That is in the rotation.
I think I got a Dino. All right. So for this week's Poke Poll, we said we'd return to this eventually.
No, I think it's Bagon now instead of Dino.
Is it back
because
on?
Larvitar's still in there. Either way, it was so memorable.
So
you remember it, right? Wow. Anyway,
right.
sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So for this week's Pokepoke, we said we'd circle back on this topic, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Pokemon Go didn't have any shiny Pokemon. How would this affect your view of the game and how you play?
Yeah, this is a question. This is definitely a question. I think this sort of encompasses your other question about, like, you know, is a shiny enough to carry an event in and of itself, right? And that's the question we've posed here several times before. But I think it kind of comes down to this point that, like, what if there just were no shiny Pokemon at all? Like, is this game still fun? Is this thing that people famously say isn't content, if we didn't have it, would we suddenly have no content? Like, how would we feel about this? And Kyle, do you have an answer? I've definitely got mine like ready to go.
I think if you took the game as it is right now, wholesale, and lifted shinies straight out of it, I would not care to play very much at all. I would play some, but not like super actively and interested in every new thing that's coming out or stuff that's changing. Something would have to fundamentally be changed or added to make clicking on each Pokemon more interesting. More ways of specifically going for IVs, more ways of having agency over what you want to do, because the shinies was the only valuable RNG I think the game has currently.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of comes down to what I think the point of it is too. Like, I feel the same way. As much as I love this game and all different aspects of it too, like, I like hatching eggs, I like doing raids, except for the raiding mechanic itself, like we talked about, and I even dabble in PvP every other day or so. Like, I do all sorts of stuff. If shiny Pokemon were not around, I would just be so less interested in this game overall. Like, it would be a painful experience. It'd be very bland. It'd be very boring. Now, of course, it's super difficult for us to, like, distill this view of the game from because now we know better, right? We've only ever had that except for before shinies were introduced. But now that they're so pervasive and all over the place, and they're in all these new events, they're always a talking point. It is almost impossible to imagine this game without it. And so I think this kind of skews or adds some bias to our answer of course it'd be miserable, because without it, I can't even imagine, you know. But even still, I think that, like I was saying, the point that you made about it being the best part of RNG of the game is really it. Like, that's it. It's just enough of a gamble. It's just enough of a low risk, no skin off my back gamble. And that makes you feel good when you get it, because it's just rare enough. You know, that is really the fueling dopamine hit of this game. You know, for some people it's winning battles for sure. But I think for the vast majority of players across all play styles, that shiny on screen, oh my gosh, is the thing.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that stands out, of course, is there's going to be people out there saying, what about IVs? IVs are bad for hunting in Go. They're bad for hunting in Pokemon, actually, in general. Let's not pretend Go is better than the main series games. It's not. But the main series games have tools at your disposal to do other things, to enhance your Pokemon that you want to keep. And Go doesn't have that. So if you don't have shinies to keep you interested, to lock you in, you're clicking on each Pokemon for the 1 in 4,000 chance that it's a hundo. Like,
right.
It's not good. It's not good odds.
Yeah, I think the answer is that IVs are the shiny thing, just a lot less. You know,
and without the good feeling of instant gratification, I suppose.
The instant gratification, sure, but like when you do appraise it and it's a hundo, you're like, whoa, especially if it was shiny and then a hundo and you had a whoa and then a whoa right after it. Like, that's a good feeling. But I think shinies are first and foremost in that category for sure, of thing to react to. Very important for game feel, right? Isn't that a phrase that people use? Game feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Game feel.
That's right. All right. Well, anyway, dear listener, if you have an answer to this week's Pokeball question, and we hope that you do, I'm really interested to hear what other people have to say about this. The question is, once more, imagine Pokemon Go did not have any shiny Pokemon. How would this affect your view of the game and how you play? You can answer that question when we post it on Twitter at GOCast Podcast. You can also answer the question on YouTube with the video version as a comment. You can also answer on Spotify mobile. If you're listening, there's going to be the question posted there. If you are a patron of ours, in our patron Discord, we have a channel dedicated to this. You can also send us an email to mail@gocastpodcast.com. And last but not least, you can, of course, also call into our voicemail line at 262-586-7717 and respond there. But speaking of emails and voicemails, Mr. Kyle, where are we right now?
It's time for emails.
That's right. And 2 voicemails. I realized in retrospect, as I was getting ready for this episode, that Sean's voicemail from last week that we did not play might have been more appropriate to play last week when we had PvP experts on, but I think we're going to handle it fine. So here it is.
Hey guys, love the show. My name is Sean, and I have a question about Carbink. I would love to use it in Great League, but to max it out, I would have to use 207 of my 230 rare Candy XL. And I was wondering if you guys think that is worth the investment or not. I don't know what else I would use that candy for at this point. I raid pretty heavily, so I normally get enough XL candy for anything that needs to be used in Master League. But do you think it would be a good investment for a Great League Carbink at this point? Thank you.
So it's kind of a gray area question. And I really think it kind of boils down to, do you actually have nothing else to spend those Candy XL on?
Well, one more thing, because they didn't mention what's the rank. Is this a rank 1 Carbink?
Yeah, if that Carbink is up there, then absolutely. Because Carbink itself is up there, but your IV combo, if it's really not great, then maybe wait, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really good. Like, it is very good in Great League, but let's just, I'm just trying to see what it looks like at level 40 if you had like a Hundo IVs or something like that. Yeah, so level 40 Hundo, so no XL candy, is 1467. And it still goes 24 wins, 20 losses versus the rank 1 at level 50, which is 15 or 5, 15, 15, is 24, 19, and 1. It literally turns a loss into a draw by going from 40 to 50. Of course, this is only against the meta. This is only in perfectly simulated scenarios, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So having looked at that, it's hard to suggest 200 XL candy to do it.
It is. And 2 other things as well. You've made an excellent point. But 2 other ones. Number 1, Great League ain't always around. So don't forget that investment will not always be available to you, which sounds like you are a seasoned PvPer, so of course you're to know this. But the second one then too is that, I mean, you maybe go for it if you don't have an otherwise great League team and you're like looking to make one and you're like, I'm going to invest in just 3 or 4 Pokemon that I can rotate through and one of them is going to be Carbink. Then yeah, maybe, because it is ranked really highly. So sure. But this definitely, I think, comes down to personal choice. For me, you'd have to threaten my life in order for me to spend that much Candy XL on anything. So that's too much in my opinion, but to each their own.
I'm having a hard time convincing myself to do it for my second Hundo Rayquaza, which I probably will at some point. But I think 2 more questions to ask yourself, and hopefully this will help you make your decision. How much do you PvP? Because it sounds like you raid a lot. So if this is only because it's a collector's piece and you want to have it because you know it's good, maybe consider again.
Yeah.
And I've already forgotten the second one, but I think it was going to be like Chris said, what are your other options? Because while it is, rank 2 in Open Great League, if you've already got a stable team, it might be worth considering otherwise. And you know what? As I was talking, I remember what I was actually going to say. You could probably wait a little while and watch the far more competitive and the best players out there who stream and who make content, see how well they use Carbink, see if Carbink even gets a ton of use. Because if it's rank 2 and everybody decides that every team has to have a Carbink counter, then nobody's going to bring Carbink anymore.
Right. Or,
so like,
or
it
better
really
yet,
depends how the meta evolves.
right. Or if everybody's bringing Carbink at lower levels and all the higher level people are bringing counters, wait to see those are out and then have a much easier, better record for your first half of your season, right?
Yeah. I'm sure Carbink's going to get used a lot. I am sure it's gonna.
Yeah.
But there's always the option that it's not. So if you're not going to hardcore grind it out now, I'd probably wait, personally.
In the back of my head, I'm so afraid that if we had played this last week, that both Fish and DeFi would have been like, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. And we're like, maybe think about it. But anyway, we hope that was useful in some way, Sean, that maybe some of those questions brought you to a different point. But anyway, thank you very much for the voicemail. Appreciate it. This next voicemail is from Ed.
Hey, Chris, Kyle. My name is Ed Wilkie. I'm down in Tennessee, and I've been listening to your podcast now for about 3 or 4 months, and I find it to be one of the most entertaining and educational Pokemon Go podcasts out there, and thank you for all that information you've been passing out. It really, really helps. I only have 2 or 3 issues with Niantic or Pokemon Go at this point. I'm level 46. My team is Mystic. And
what's your problem?
I've been playing since August 2nd, 2016. And my issues with the game, everything seems to be going pretty good, and I'm not a PvP player, but I wish there was a audio clue for the size of the circle when you're throwing a ball to get a nice, great, or excellent. That's number 1. And I wish there was some kind of fanfare or something if you pull up a shiny. And also, the labels for the Pokemon. They're pretty good, but they're not always available. And the reason this is so interesting is because I'm totally blind. I have never seen a Pokemon. But I have caught everything in the game. I've done everything I can. And I can even do mass deletes and stuff like that with the new search bars and search strings. It's awesome. So I've just been having fun, and I've lost 75 pounds walking around. So, awesome. There's that too. And seems to be a good thing. I got more than 500 legendaries. I know that's not much compared to everybody else who goes out there and raids all the time, but I have to walk around by myself. There's not a lot of times I can get out and have other people helping me. It's just not happening. It used to. When I was getting to level 40, I was the 3rd one in our county to get to 40, so that was good. But we had lots of people playing back then, and not so much anymore. So a lot of people have just gone on, and now there's a lot of spoofers out there and stuff, and that's not real good. But anyway, here's your one voicemail if you want to do it.
And that's the end of the voicemail. I think it got cut off there a little bit at the end. Okay, so fascinating input. It's so funny because we talk about, always having our sound off. We turn it on for very particular points. But for an accessibility perspective, it is such an untapped avenue, right? I think audio cues for great and excellent throws and stuff, nice, great, excellent throws, that's brilliant. And same thing for Shiny too. Like, why not? I mean, I know it does the sparkles, but it could be more poignant. I don't know.
Do the sparkles make a sound with the sound?
I don't remember.
I don't think they do. I remember because in Sword and Shield, people made a big deal because the overworld shinies didn't make a sound anymore, and they used to.
So Scarlet and Violet, they don't.
But they did. Did they in Sword and Shield?
They did in Arceus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they don't in Pokemon Go, which it sounds like they don't, they absolutely should. 100%. This is a great point. fantastic discussion about accessibility there.
I don't think that's ever been brought up before. That's so we're kind of like, wow.
Yeah. I think about it every once in a while because I see some people talk about how well designed the audio for some games are.
Yeah.
And there was someone posting on the Diablo 3 subreddit a few years ago when I frequented there, before all the stuff with Blizzard, of course. It's like, the name was The Blind Gamer or something like that. They played through all of Diablo 3, beat the end game, was grinding stuff, and they are completely blind. Played only on the audio cues the game gives them. And they played Diablo 3 because Diablo 3's audio design is so good and its interface is so good that you can do that.
Wow.
With some help from, text-to-speech recognition apps.
Sure.
So,
of course, that's just being resourceful at that point. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, like the idea of even an audio cue for when the circle gets to each threshold is such a great idea.
Yeah, there's a sound like a boom sound when you hold the Pokeball.
Yeah.
Like when you choose it. And why I don't know why they don't do that one at like 3 different pitch levels for the circle.
Yeah,
it can be
such
as simple
a good
as that.
idea.
Yeah, it is a brilliant idea.
And
we should pass that one along.
And it helps regular players too, because like it's so hard to tell when you go from great to excellent for some Pokemon.
Yeah. Especially when there's such a variety of circle sizes. The small ones, it's almost impossible, like Kartana, I gotta wait until the circle disappears to try to get it into the excellent,
Yeah.
But like
exactly.
for a Snorlax, it's like, oh, that was an excellent. It looks like it's only half done. Like, goodness. So yeah, great feedback, Ed. Thank you very much. We'll have to bring this up in the channels that we are able to do so in. Brilliant, really brilliant. But yeah, no. So besides those 2 voicemails, we've also got a couple of emails. These are going to be sort of throwbacks because they're both about GOFest experience and stuff like that. So we're going to read these now. Thank you to both of these emailers for being rather patient with us while we did not have time for them in previous episodes. So this first one is from Venusy Prime. Kyle, I hope you don't mind. I'll take it. And they said, "Hi, Chris and Kyle. Thought I'd email in with my London experiences. It was a very different experience to the Safari Zone in Liverpool, largely down to company kept and relative excitement. The Safari Zone was run as a global event when the pandemic first hit, and the version in Liverpool was the same event again, just in a different location. This could also be done outside of the park. As such, I ended up playing it largely solo versus being able to meet up with so many people at GoFest. I do think Sefton Park's layout was more interesting as a park, but Brockwell was better for gameplay for GoFest, and with a wider variety of things around, the highlight probably being the Hypnotic Glacier, mainly because of the air conditioning in the little rave room at the end. AC is always very, very popular. GoFest did have a much wider variety of food trucks, but the hydration stations were less good. They just stuck the signs next to the park's existing fountains, which weren't designed for filling up water bottles. Oh, that's not good.
That's not good.
In New York, we had like tanks.
Yeah, they had tanks and they never ran out as far as we could tell.
No, never, which is wild because they were always being used.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Technically, the day went off almost without a hitch. Mobile connectivity throughout the parks or the park was flawless for me. Though I did overhear some potential issues on other networks. Raids just worked. A stark contrast to parts of Hoenn Tor Global. I suspect locking down everything in the park to only working during the park times helped a lot with server congestion. Though this did lead to my potentially only lost raid pass from attempting to start one last Xerneas raid at 1329 when the gym disappeared at 1330. I wasn't keeping a close eye on things, so I wasn't sure if it was actually lost. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Kind of just went into the no zone. Raids were pretty good with quick respawn timers, and the in-park ones being local only. It's nice being able to see just how many people were around doing them at the same time. Being able to add people directly after a local raid helped a lot with the variety of add a new friend, special research tasks, granting rare candy or more encounters. We found this to be the case too. The ready button is nice, But I don't think we were in a lobby where everyone readied up before either the timer hit 0 naturally or the raid hit 20 people in and immediately went to 10 seconds. Some frustrations, though. Mega Rayquaza raids weren't available in the park. You had to go to the outskirts to remote it if one happened to spawn nearby or receive invitations from people doing their city experience. This also led to problem number 2. There was no remote raid limit increase. If I'd realized this was the case, I probably wouldn't have done so many while in the park and instead saved them for a while in the pub afterwards. That's a good point. I mean, I think from their event design perspective, they're like, okay, well, all the ones in the park are local only, so just be happy with what you have. But if you're trying to focus Mega Rayquaza, they took that agency from you during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. As an idea of difficulty for Global, Mega Rayquaza is somewhere between Primal Groudon and Kyogre. Ones without Outrage tended to go down very quickly, while ones with Outrage could require relobbying, even with a full 20 people in the raid. If you have the Stardust, power up some Ice types for the double weakness, but don't neglect powering up Fairies just to be able to take a hit. Also, great feedback. GoFest is a reminder of how magical this game can be when things just work, conceptually and technically, and away from at least most of the scandals. I've never seen so many people looking down at their phones, the shouts of joy when people got a new shiny, the excitement kids had when they saw the inflatable Blastoise. I made some mistakes in my planning. Should they do another event in London, I'll fork out the extra for the train rather than spending 4 hours each way on a crowded coach. But I'm so glad we were able to meet up with the crew and see what the local grind spots are like. Not sorry for the long email, and keep up the good work. Venusy Prime. Yeah, great feedback, specifically around some of the nuances around rating and stuff like that. I think that's the sort of feedback that Niantic wants to hear the most. Because, again, I'm going to say it again, twice in one episode, comes down to game feel. And all the things can be around you. All the lights can be working. All of the buttons can be working too. But if it doesn't feel good, it ain't good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great feedback on the rating parts in particular.
I just wish they had increased the remote raid limit for the days specifically.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be unlimited. 20 probably would have been fine. A good way to fill in downtime from when you're trying to navigate different places and go travel from, biome to biome or from raid to raid if you're in the city. Just 5 is basically worthless if you're actually playing for 8 hours.
Especially with how quickly the raids were turning over. And if you wanted to go from one end to the other in the park that we were at, because it was not circular, it was a line, you just simply would not make it. Yeah. But anyway, thank you very much for the email, Venus. Appreciate it.
All right. Last one's from Maxatron, and they said, howdy, Chris and Kyle. Maxatron here. For some reason, I can't get out of my head that the email address is mail@GOCast podcast, not email@GOCast podcast.
Sorry.
These emails must be a dime a dozen right now, but here's my 10 cents on the global GoFest this year. I'm writing this the night of Mega Rayquaza raids with GoFest behind us. What an event. I played most of both days, focusing on catching the first day and raids the second day. I learned quickly that the first rotating hour, the one with Audino, was the star piece hour, and that most of the shinies I actually wanted were in the other habitats. Ended up with a shiny Cowboy Hat Snorlax, Heracross, and Pawniard,
nice,
among other shinies. I actually encountered 2 Pawniards, but my Go Plus missed the first one. I feel that pain. I feel that pain personally.
Awful.
I grounded it for 5 minutes before telling it to get back to work. It was a typical dog day of summer heat here in almost too sunny Florida. But since I work outside all the time, I'm pretty adjusted to having sweat pouring all over me and mentally dismissing the feeling that the sun is steaming my clothes and rapidly cooking my skin. All in a day's work, pretty much. Ran around with some friends on campus for about 4 hours before calling it. The next day was the big day for most of us. Shinies are cool, but Mega Rayquaza is so much cooler. It's a shame it didn't bring its Delta Stream to cool the day down for us. We started the morning by gathering at a local park with free, safe parking and running a handful of golden lures. I finished getting the coins needed for my Hundo 50 Goldengo and gave it the second move. Nice. What would you nickname this Pokemon? Does the string cheese mascot guy from the 90s have a name? If so, that.
Yeah, whatever that is. String chi.
String cheese.
Yep.
Most of my 50s are named after some of the badges or have some interesting Latin or literary name like Arrakis or Orcanus. I think about 19 people showed up, which was nuts. Oh, and I got to tell people where the raids were. I was kind of worried because 10 a.m. was creeping up and there weren't any mega raid eggs on Campfire. Only Primal and Shadow Kunos. We decided we'd head to a part of town where gyms were denser and easier to get to without traffic concerns when suddenly in all his majesty, a Mega Rayquaza descended and blessed us with his presence at some gym on a dirt road that I think is probably private property. With the first raid completed, the heat was on. I had to bounce between Discord and WhatsApp since this current raid group was an amalgamation of OG players and newer faces that hadn't really met before today. All in all, we did about 57 Rayquaza raids together, and I evened it out to 60 with some remote raids I jumped into. My goal was to get a hundo, and I did not. I did have a 96 from last time Ray was around, and I ended up powering up. I got 4 meteorites and 3 shinies. My Go Plus also did much better without my oversight and netted me something like 20 shinies, including the elusive and coveted Gumi.
Oh, that feels bad.
Wow.
That feels bad, man. Oh, good for you,
really
though.
Good.
Yeah.
You got more than shinies than I did on that day.
But plus, Kyle, you got an extra hundo to spare, don't you?
I mean, I did. My plus just wasn't behaving very well that day.
Okay.
But an interesting note that worried me while we were raiding was when other cars joined our caravan. I mentioned before that we were at 19, so when we started. Well, our lobbies were always at 20, which, yeah, that's great for short lobby times and average of 45-second Rayquaza battles. But as cars jumped in, I became worried that some of the people who planned to be part of our group would get pushed out. I hope I don't sound exclusive because I want as many people to join us, but there's this slender line between 20 and 24 people where one side you have no worries and easy raids, and the other side you have that plus people getting left out and unable to complete the raids. Sometimes I wish we could have is a preset host code that one could share before starting a raid caravan so everybody part of it could enter the code and ensure their spot in the lobby. We already have private lobbies with simple codes, so I'm just asking for those codes to have a little more utility. Aside from that, the raids were great and everybody walked away happy and tired. I can't stress enough how much fun it is to get together with friends for events like these. Anyways, with the new season upon us and rumors of a big PvP shakeup, I had an idea. And I know I'm stretching this 10 cents out at this point. We all talk about PvP Pokemon and their accessibility. Some, like Medicham and Azumarill, are a huge candy and dust investment while not being usable in PvE. Others, like most legendaries and all mythicals in Master League, have super scarce resources and are among the best picks for their typings. I think a revamp of the battle passes, including remote passes, could help them. What if you could just rent a Pokemon or team to use for the week or a season? Like you use the different tiered battle passes, free, premium, and remote. Rename the remote, since as Kyle pointed out, it's a lot of power in it. To have different levels of access to Pokemon pre-selected for use. This concept kind of comes from Pokemon Stadium where you could rent teams, or in some cases it had to rent teams in order to compete. I'll let y'all flesh this one out since I'm well past my dime and way over time. And if you want to pass on a Fish and DeFi to tackle, I'm cool with that. Thanks for being awesome hosts and for all you do. I always look forward to the weekly episodes. I love the wordplay in the title segment the most. Is there a longer email to be found in all of GOCast? I think not. I make a poor defense for blabbering on.
I don't know, actually. I think this is, if it's not the longest, it's up there.
It's up there for sure.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. Certainly not a bad thing. But this one thing that we could pass to Fish and DeFi. I am yet again feeling rather confident because this topic has actually come up a lot in the past, including conversations that we've had with other people. That rental teams does solve a lot of problems, but it also robs the gameplay loop of a lot of activity. It would have to be very limited in some way. It'd have to be like you use a pass in order to rent this for this set or something like that. Like it would have to be limited and use another resource in order for it to be okay.
I think one of the biggest problems with the idea of rental teams, I like the idea of rental teams, but in terms of for Go, it's going to sound negative towards PvP, but it's just a fact. The amount of usable Pokemon in Go per league is very small comparatively. I say that with big quotation marks because you can make a lot of things work, but the things that do work is not very big. If you can rent a team that has a 1-15-15 level 48 Metacham on it, what makes you want to go get your own? Versus in the main series games, because the main series do have rental teams. Scarlet and Violet has rental teams for competitive, right? Right now?
Yes.
Is you're more likely to be able to go get that and make that team your own, or use it as a placeholder until you have that team in a core game. And I feel like that's less likely to happen in Go. Because you don't have the agency to do that.
I think the only gap in what you're saying there, which is also really important, is that the reason that it doesn't matter in the main series game is that the process of acquisition of getting your own is not monetized. And it is in Go.
Yeah. Well, and also it's not timing restricted either.
Yeah.
With a couple exceptions, obviously, like if it was in raids and you can't get another one anymore, for example. Like I don't think you can get another Walking Wake right now, right? Because you have to find somebody who has one.
You have to find someone that has one and wait for it to come back in raids.
Yeah, minor exceptions like that. But if you want an Azumarill with huge power, you can go get one in 5 minutes.
You can.
And you can have it PvP ready in 30 minutes, depending on your resources.
Yeah.
And so the rental teams work as demos, but in Go, they would work as
replacements.
Yeah. And I don't know how you solve that problem without making it not a useful feature. Like it would have to be so limited that why would you use it?
I think it would really have to be like, hey, it costs a premium pass per Pokemon that you've rent and you get them for the completion of this set. And then, so therefore the encouragement or motivation to getting your own would be, I don't have to pour passes into this anymore in order to be meta relevant and competitive.
Yeah. I mean, there's a way that you could do it.
Something. Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth the effort or investment because of the way the game works.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think that, we can dream up solutions like this that are kind of complicated, but at the end of the day, they're putting something in the game that still takes people away from the rest of the other gameplay loops in the game. And they don't want that. They want everybody doing everything as much as possible. And I think stuff like this would encourage making PvP even more of a silo than it already is for a lot of people, So yeah. I don't know. I get it, but yeah,
I get the desire 100%.
Yeah. But the other thing too, that you mentioned here, Maxitron, was the private codes. I think you should be able to designate a raid leader. Like if you had 24 people and you say, great, we're going to split into 2 groups of 12 so that the 20 group isn't done with 3 raids by the time the group of 4 is done with their first, and leave people behind. Because again, those are limited in time. So yeah, it'd be great if you could designate a raid leader and people could be like, hey, I'm going to as a raid leader, my 8-digit code is this. And then people can copy and paste that in every single time and get into those lobbies. Like that would be cool.
I mean, yes, but we know we've talked to Niantic about this, that it leads to, or it has the fear of leading to exclusion.
Yeah.
Like if a group of 10 people do this and there's like 6 people not in their group, they just get excluded because they're not part of the group, even though a raid would be able to support it.
That's true. I feel like private lobbies, if people are really interested in doing that over doing as many raids as possible, that exclusion option already exists.
Yes, exactly. But you're making it easier. I think that's the difference.
Good point.
Not necessarily it doesn't exist. It just is an extra step.
Yeah. Well, anyways, other than all of that, Maxtron, it sounds like you had a very successful global GoFest, and I'm sorry about the Florida sun. Hard to deal with that. Lots of humidity and all that. But thank you very much to everybody that wrote in, everybody that left a voicemail. If you'd like to do so yourself, you can by calling. Let's do the number first. Voicemail line is 262-586-7717. It will cut you off around 3 minutes. You can, of course, also email in or Discord DM me a audio file, and we can work with that. But just please make it close to 3 minutes. But if you'd like to send us an email the old-fashioned way, you can, of course, to mail@gocastpodcast.com. Visit our website for all things GoCast at gocastpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter @GoCastPodcast. If you would like to help support the show monetarily, you can do so for as little as $1 a month by signing up at Patreon. That's spelled patreon.com/GoCastPodcast. And speaking of patrons, shout out to our Elite Trainer tier patrons. This is the week that I redeem myself, I swear. Big thank you to Bo, Daniel, Lori, Michael, Ozzy, Arkham, Marvin and Mimi, Sforza, Rasuian, Ryan, Thayer, Jason, Justin, Charles, Modders, Lee, William, Brandon, Ethan, Stephen, Nick, Kelvin, our favorite listener, Drew 2, Camo, The Ugly Rock, Jacob, Victoria, and Sarah Lore. Thank you very, very much for your support. We're getting close here. I have this broken out as a list of names. We've gone A through Z. So that's at least 26 names. And the next one will be double A.
Maybe I'll do it next week.
Let's do it. Especially as this list gets longer, hopefully. Don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched. If for anything, it's fun for the bit, But thank you all very, very much for your generous support and helping us keep the digital lights on and other things, really, honestly. But if you'd like to help support the show otherwise, you can by helping us out by leaving a review. It means a lot. It does a lot for our show in beneficial ways, and it costs you nothing but a few minutes. So please, if you would, that'd be fantastic. All right, Mr. Kyle, we've got to set some goals and then we can skedaddle. I think the only thing worth mentioning is Oddish Research Day is happening this weekend and one more day of the Paldea event, right? Oh
boy. So exciting.
So what are you thinking? You got anything down already?
I do. I'm going to continue my gifting, trying to make it through the season by at least making some progress each week towards my friendship levels.
All right.
I can't do it every day, which is why I'm not writing that down because I know I won't do it. Work on my mega progress because I kind of fell off. I just ignored that for the last 2 weeks, and I'm really close on a lot of stuff. I got my last buddy to best buddy, so I can start a new best buddy. My Alola Marowak is best buddy. So now I can do this will be number 6. That was number 5. I don't know who it's going to be yet. I have to look over.
Are you holding auditions? What are you doing? What's your decision?
Well, I got to see what Hundo Ghost I want to walk, if I have one that I want to walk. Or maybe a shiny if I have that I want a best buddy. I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
And 300,000 experience.
Doable. I think that's doable. Especially if you count tomorrow, you've got the 4 times runway. Even if you play for 30 minutes, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So cool. Good luck. For myself, 10 shiny Oddish from the research event, which I think actually might be too many. We'll see. I think I've only ever gotten 6 or 7 in previous research days. We'll see. 500,000 Stardust. I'm on my current long-term goal of hitting 10 million Stardust because I was at one point and dipped down several million to 2 or 3 at one point. I'm up to 7.7. So I'd like to be over 8 million, 8.2 plus by the time we record next. And of course, in the process of doing so, hatch 50 eggs because I'm incorrigible. And there you go. That's it for the episode. Thanks everybody for listening all the way through. We appreciate it. Make sure you catch PvP Corner this week as well. Shout out to those two doing wonderful work as always over there. And we'll see you next week for episode 253. Bye-bye.
Bye.